welcome. You're watching Times Now and I'm Shubhangi Mishra. Viewers, the world's attention today is on Islamabad, the ground zero for most significant talks between US and Iran since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. It's perhaps the most difficult mission yet for J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States of America, leading the American delegation along with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. On the other side is the Iranian delegation, led by the Speaker of Iranian Parliament. He's seen as a pragmatic hardliner. His team includes Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and the Governor of Iran's central bank. The facilitator of talks is Pakistan, a country that shares border with Iran, a country that is China's all-weather friend and is in good books of Trump. The US president these days is also a friend of Pakistan. But first time direct in-person talks are happening between Washington and Tehran. So it is a historic day all in all. But the big question on everybody's mind is, will there be a breakdown or breakthrough? Will talks bring peace or pandemonium? We will get to know all of that answers in a few hours from now. But first, let me tell you what happened before and after the talks began. On one hand, you have US President who seems to be hampering the tone with his typically bombastic language, claiming that Iran is losing big. His ranting, went on throughout the day on Truth Social. On the other side, you have Iran's demands and red lines for America, which are absolutely clear. That is, first, control over Strait of Hormuz. The second demand is war damage compensation. The third is release of frozen Iranian assets. And of course, the biggest sticking point, ceasefire across the region, including Lebanon. Now, these are not just negotiation points, viewers, but these are direct demands of Iran. But will United States agree or not remains to be seen. In fact, I'm being joined by Irfan from Islamabad. Thank you so much for speaking to Times Now. What is the latest which you are tracking? Of course, this is round 2 of the peace talk. It's already been over 3 hours. What's the latest which you can tell our viewers at this point in time, Irfan?
Thank you for having me. Talks, it was a marathon day and it was really wonderful meetings between Pakistan delegation and US delegation. And apart from that, they had a very good discussion with Iranian delegations too. And I think it was the first day of the talks, and the meeting which took place in Islamabad and Serena Hotel. These were welcoming meetings, and it really set the tone of the talks and just gave an impression that both the sides they are agreed to move ahead. And I believe so that US delegation, they have given good gestures in terms of meeting, and apart from that, unfreezing Iran's assets. So it's a good thing that both the sides they want to solve the issue. And apart from that, Iranian delegations, they have a lot of technical guys with them. And after this day, tomorrow there are chances that their technical sides they would sit together. Before that, they would sit separately and finalize the draft of the joint declaration or a point of demand. Charter of demand, you can say that they would work parallel, and after that, there are high chances that they would sit together across the table. But so far, there are very less chances. Unless until both the sides they do not reach to a conclusion. I believe that one of my sources in the government, they have just given information that maybe J.D. Vance, he might travel back to United States anytime tomorrow, but the rest of his team will stay in Islamabad to negotiate for further talks with Iranian delegation. So tomorrow, if you see in the larger context, there are so many things which needs to solve and which are doable, and I believe that both the sides, they will try to set a tone and they will try to finalize their charter, and I believe once the facilitator country, Pakistan, would feel that it's the right
Right, so
time
the
to bring
peace
both the
talks will
parties.
continue tomorrow. Of course, in few hours or maybe tomorrow, we'll get to know exactly what the US and Iran have agreed upon. Thank you so much, Irfan, for joining us with all those details here. In fact, I'm being joined by my guest at this point in time, Ashok Sajjanar, former diplomat, Pathikrit Pine, geopolitical analyst, and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on Times Now. I appreciate your time. Coming to you first, Ashok Sajjanar, what do you, according to you, what will be the closest resolution to this peace talks? For us, now it's already been 4 hours. We have seen United States also not backing it up, but somewhere or the other, you know, it seems that Iran is on the winning side. What do you think the closing point of this peace talk will be?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your show. And you're very right. Your initial remarks were that this is truly a historic time because these two delegations from the United States and Iran, they are meeting for the first time face to face after 1979 when the Iranian Revolution took place, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And before that also, whenever negotiations have taken place, like even the most recent one that took place in Geneva or in Oman, the two delegations were sitting in separate rooms, in different rooms, and the mediators were just passing through messages to each other. But here I understand that it is a first face-to-face interaction. So that is very important. The second important aspect that I see from here is that both the delegations are at a very, very senior level. You know, they're not at the official level, senior official level, ministerial level, etc. They are at very high level. Here we have the Vice President of the United States. That means both the sides have invested a great deal of political capital in this, and they a lot of their own reputation. So they expect that it would yield some results, some positive results. So the other point, Shubhangi, that you made is that something like that Iran is in a winning position and all. But I think it needs to be recognized that, the United States has met all or most of its military objectives, but it has not been able to translate them into its strategic and political objectives. So I think, and as far as Iran is concerned, well, it has not lost. So some people tend to state, and I do agree to a very significant extent with them, that by not losing, it can be seen to have won the conflict, so to say. But that having been said, Iran has also suffered greatly. No one can deny that. You know, for the 40 days, I don't know how many, 13,000 hits and targets and attacks by the United States and by Israel on its military complex and industrial complex, economic facilities, etc. So it has suffered huge damage. So the point I want to make here is that both of them, United States for its own reasons, principally for its domestic reasons, and Iran because the fact that it has suffered huge economic punishment and debilitation, both of them want to agree to get some agreement at all, and it would be, I think, for both sides very humiliating if they go back to their capitals without any agreement from here. So I think both of them will try in a determined way to get to some agreement. So first thing that comes to my mind is what Mr. Trump would want, and what the whole world in fact is looking for is the Strait of Hormuz. This was opening up the Strait of Hormuz, and what, as far as Iran is concerned, in terms of, I think, the stopping of the attacks on Iran. Of course, Lebanon will continue to be a question mark, and I could speak about it when you come back to it later on.
Mr. Sajjanar, you're making very important point. I was just coming to the biggest sticking point, that is Lebanon. Mr. Sanjay Kulkarni, next question to you, of course. The biggest sticking point between Iran and United States, and of course I will include Israel here as well, is Lebanon. Even as the negotiation peace talks in Islamabad continued, we saw continued strikes on Lebanon. Do you think there will be a closure when it comes to Lebanon from the sides of United States? Will Trump be able to tell Netanyahu that, see, this is it, you don't attack Lebanon again? Will that be possible?
Thank you, Shivangi. I would much like to go along with the ambassador when he's giving us a brief background as to what it is all about. But as far as Lebanon is concerned, next week we expect Israel talks along with Lebanon in Washington. So that is one part of it. The second thing is there seems a sincerity that yes, both sides, both America and Iran want peace, and that there is no denying the fact. The very fact that the delegations are led at the highest level, they are meeting in Islamabad, and at the same time, the very fact that there are not indirect talks happening like what happened in Oman, the direct bilateral talks with Pakistan in the room, may not be in control of the talks, but definitely in the room. So there are bilateral talks going on. But as far as Lebanon is concerned, Lebanon is a very different kind of, it's a country which has three major, governing bodies. You have the president, the Christian. You have the Hezbollah controlling it directly, indirectly, and completely in power. And then you have, of course, the Sunnis as the speaker over there. So in that context, Lebanon, yes. But is it Lebanon or is it Hezbollah? Hezbollah is the problem, not Lebanon. That Hezbollah controls Lebanon indirectly and interferes in a manner.
Right.
But the southern Lebanon is what is more important.
Mr. Kulkarni, I'm afraid I'll have to stop you there. There's some breaking update coming, and then I'll come back to you. Of course, some important breaking news coming at this point in time. We're learning, as per foreign media reports, talks between United States and Iran are expected to last into the night and possibly into Sunday. Now, talks between the US and Iran are expected, as I was mentioning, last well into the night, and it can stretch into Sunday. We are also learning that the talks, Pakistan is also being acted as a mediator between them and are ongoing in Islamabad as we speak. In fact, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief are in the room, the source have added. I would want to go back to my guest, and Patikrit Pine, we are seeing, as the breaking news is suggesting, there's some positive and progressing peace talk happening as we speak. How do you make of these developments? Do you think there will be a closure or not? As US media reports are suggesting that there are some positive and progressive talks happening between United States and Iran.
Well, positive and progressive within inverted comma, it means a lot. For example, this kind of talks were happening before 28th of February as well. And then America started bombing Iran. So there is, beyond the optics, there is a huge amount of trust deficit that cannot be denied. That trust deficit factor is very important. Number 2 point is this: there are 4 major protagonists at play in this entire conflict. The Americans, the Iranians, the Arab states, and Israel. And only 2 are talking. The other 2 are like the elephants in the room, invisible. So unless you directly involve the Israelis and the Arabs into this discussion, this war is not going to see a closure. The Arabs have been at the receiving end of the entire, horizontal escalation that the Iranians went through. Do they want Americans to stop this war? Well, perhaps they do, but they look at it as an incomplete closure, because the perpetual fear that they have that Iran will continue these attacks remains. Israel has a completely different end game when it comes to this conflict. They will continue to attack Hezbollah. Can Iran give up or disown Hezbollah? That's a very, very critical question, because if they do it, then it's like this, that they are giving up on the Shia community, because Iran and primarily IRGC looks upon themselves as a angel guardian for the entire Shia community. And again, there are very, very thorny issues that has to be addressed. Number 1, the Americans want Iran to give up on the nuclear program. Well, that's a very big question mark again. Will the Iranians give it up? And secondly, America wants Iran to have contained their army and not support the proxies at all. The Israelis will want guarantee that no more there will be any threat from the Iranians. Will the Iranians agree to that? On the contrary, the Iranians want America to give damage and compensation for the war and the damages being done. And secondly, they want America to give a guarantee that there will be no more, attacks. Last but not the least, on the issue of Strait of Hormuz, Iran knows Strait of Hormuz is a leverage for them. They will only give up or concede to that leverage if they get something substantial in return. They would rather go back to their own country and they say, and by saying we did not bow down to America, rather than going back to
so
their
whether or
country
not
and saying that
peace will be attained or there will be a big escalation, we will get to know, of course, by today, late night or tomorrow. As of now, I'm afraid I don't have much time. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Mr. Ashok Sajjanar, Patikrit Pine and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, thank you so much for speaking to Times Now. Really appreciate your time here, sir.